I'll give you some overview regarding the trending technologies that are most widely used, and so that you would be able to compare that what you are studying is it currently trending in the market, or that you are studying is out of date. So among that, I have chosen 13 technology which I have come across. I have not taken it from internet or somewhere. These are the trending technologies which are demanding most widely used, because these technologies are such that they really make your work very easy in all this sense. Uh, for example, if you want any virtual environment created, that if you want your code to work independent of your machines, then the best option which comes to our mind is the Docker. What basically we do is we Dockerize our application, and we deploy it. So our application basically runs into the Docker, and this Docker container can be put into any sort of machine. The requirement is the you require to install the Docker, and just pull the code and just run the command Docker up. Your application goes up running without worrying about the technology, that is worrying about the OS infrastructure that is used behind the scenes. Whenever the things like automation comes in your mind, like suppose we have a code, we have a running application here. This is the application, and we are developer coding. We are coding here on the, suppose we have VS Code for the coding purpose. So when we code, when we do the changes for the feature, we add the feature, and when we want to push these changes to our application, the steps involved are, first of all, you need to test it in the local. You need to build it, then test the code, then build the latest Docker image, build the image, then after building the image, you need to um, before building the image, you need to take the Dockers down, Docker containers running down, then building the new image from the new code, and then putting the Docker image all up. So huge process is there involved. So how can you automate all this process? You want to just code it, and you need to push the code to the Git repository. So whenever such scenario comes to our mind, we directly, our first thought is Jenkins. So Jenkins has an integration with the GitHub or all the source management codes, source management systems. So whenever we push our changes to the GitHub or any Git repository, here we have automatic triggers which gets triggered. Suppose if we put the trigger on the push commit, then automatically if there is a push in the repository, automatically this process is done, and your application without any manual intervention comes down, and within that time it again goes up. So that is the use of Jenkins. It is widely used. It saves lots of our manual work, manual things which are quite tedious. It takes days to do if you are doing the manually. And after that, coming to the ETL pipeline. Whenever there is a huge amount of data processing, this all the things comes into play. ETL, EMR, then AWS. So whenever we want a huge data processing requirement, we store the data mainly in the AWS. In AWS, that too, we store the data huge, if the data is quite huge. So we store it in the Redshift. Redshift is not a database, it is above the database, that is data warehouse it is. So we store there, and to process this data, we cannot process the data from our 8 GB RAM or 16 GB RAM, or if you take even 32 GB RAM, it's quite difficult to process. So for the processing huge amount of data, we require this EMR cluster, which is the service provided by Amazon, that is Elastic MapReduce, which is the basically we need EMR for the data processing or transmitting the commands of the data processing from our local machine via Spark, creating the context via Spark, and transmitting that command to the warehouse and processing the data and getting the data back within the limited time. So for that purpose, we use EMR, AWS. In AWS, there are a lot many services which are currently widely used. Among that is the EC2 instances are used. Mainly, almost all the 90 more than 90% applications are deployed in AWS in the EC2 machines. If you require any information, further detailed information, you can just ping me in the comment box. So EC2 instance, S3 is used for storing the information. This is similar to your SD card. So you can just imagine as it as an SD card where you can store the data. MySQL is old as well as it is a gold. It is the fastest database. We cannot say fastest among all, but it is fastest as per our requirement. So we use this database quite widely for the structured database. The querying is faster. Then data security is there. So all the ACID principles are followed properly by this MySQL. So we use it often and quite wide as well. And now coming to the when we have huge amount of data processing is going on in onto a code. Suppose this is the backend. Backend, there are huge amount of API calls going in, going out. So if you want to analyze the performance, how that method is performing, how much that method is being called, there are some methods written or the code part behind the scene, behind the backend. So if you want to know that how much time that code is being called, how much that I mean all the statistics related to that part, you can get, you can link this to Neuralink basically used for data monitoring, monitoring your application with respect to number of calls, how many times your application gets called, how much time it takes for responding the request and sending it back, and all such things are done via Neuralink. For using the Neuralink, you need to use the tracers in your backend code. That tracers will be sending this information to Neuralink server automatically. So Looker is basically a data visualization tool. Means if you have a database, so if you want to visualize this data onto a screen, you use Looker. Looker has its own query building ability. Looker basically works on the enterprise databases. That is not in the GBs, but it is in the TBs. It also basically we can use it for the DB databases as well, but it is not meant for it. It is basically used with the warehouses such as Redshift, which stores huge amount of data. Grafana is similar to Neuralink, which is basically used for the monitoring the application, how your application is performing, and all the statistical data. It internally or in the backend, it uses InfluxDB for data processing. And as we all know, GitHub, it's widely used, most secure, two-factor authentication and all those things are involved in the GitHub as well, you should be quite comfortable in the commits, then retrieving, or any if any error occurs, you should be able to uh, go over that errors, and you should be able to rectify those errors. Um, and one more technology that you can say integration of technology. Git with integrated with the Jenkins, it is widely used. This Git integration with the Jenkins reduces our manual work to lot. We can say a huge amount of work which man can get irritated with that work can be done automatically using this Git and Jenkins integration. And most widely preferred architecture in the today's modern technologies is the microservice architecture. It is the most popular architecture which every company loves, because in microservice architecture you have all the modular uh, uh, modular approach can be taken very easily. For suppose if I want an application, e-commerce application is there, so e-commerce application means payment gateway will be there. For then data fetching will be there, then we will be having data processing will be there. So we can use different technology for payments, we can use different technology for data fetching, we can use different technology for data processing. This can be in a different language, this can be in a different language, and this can be in a different language. I have told you in a very overview way which technologies are currently into the market. This is not the data which is taken from any source of internet, but I am also an IT employee, so I also do work. So these are the technologies which I come across in which I interact with more. These are mostly in my job. Mostly I work around all this technology. My 90%, more than 90% time goes in these technologies. So thank you guys, and if you require any details regarding all these technologies, you can comment me. I will try to make a video in depth in that technology, or up to what depth I know I can make that video as well. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.